Well, g'day and welcome back to the shed. This is part 2 of this little Grundig Transistor Boy of some sort, and it seems there were any number of different variations to this radio. I spent most of part 1 trying to work out exactly what I had, whether it was the version that recharged the battery, and it turned out it is, and how in fact the charging circuit worked. I came across a few anomalies there, and a lot of people in the comments have been very helpful. One gentleman, Marco, sent me over an original schematic from Grundig, and Christoph from Retro Tech also sent me over a reference to Radio Museum of another schematic, which I think is the one, but there are so many. Anyway, that aside, the radio still needs recapping. It's working, but it does sound a bit distorted, and I couldn't put it back together without changing all those caps. It would be sacrilege. Anyway, let's have a look at this radio, and I'll bring you up to date with the progress I've made since part 1. So this is the schematic that Marco emailed over to me, and it is for a Transistor Boy LE, and I presume E stands for export or something like that. And it appears to be what I have. Then I was looking at it and I noticed that that second selenium rectifier, which should sit here, is missing. So that suggests two things. It suggests that perhaps the thing wasn't absolutely necessary in the first place, and it also suggests that maybe this isn't the exact radio that I have. Marco also sent me over this, and this is the front page of the repair manual. It's got alignment instructions, which is really handy, and a key to the various coils on the ferrite rod, which are apparently moved around for alignment as well, and the key to the coils here, what to adjust. So that should be very helpful. I probably will do an IF alignment on it. I don't think there's any point in doing an RF alignment on it, because the dial really has very little information on it. Now, Christoph also sent me a reference to a Radio Museum page for this one, and this is the Transistor Boy 57E, and it looks a little more promising. For a start, the buttons here show shortwave 1, 2 and 3, and it says here drawn switch position is set of push buttons medium wave, which I presume means that this is drawn in the medium wave position, and that shows all the buttons up for medium wave, shortwave 1, 2 and 3, and off and on. So that makes sense. Over here we have this mystery selenium rectifier in addition to the main rectifier, which is here, and that's something I was discussing at the end of part 1. And Christoph has once again come to the rescue by sending me this article he turned up about power supplies in travel receivers or portable radios in general. But over the page here it specifically mentions the Grundig Transistor Boy 57. And during mains operation, the rectified current flows through the scale lamp and regenerates the battery. Well, that's right, charges via the dial lamp. If you work on the mains without a battery, the stabilizer STA keeps the operating voltage constant. And here we have that exact diode labelled STA. So its purpose clearly is to stabilize the voltage. So that pretty much nails that. That's what that rectifier is doing. Well, here it is here. I'll just turn it down for the moment, and I'll just test the voltage across this rectifier here, and we have 7.61 volts currently. Now the voltage on that line is clearly, according to the schematic, supposed to be 6.5. Now I don't know if this selenium rectifier is solely to blame, but I have been told that the voltage drop across these does increase with age. I don't really want over voltage on this line. For a start, it will possibly stress the heaters in the valves, and I don't want to lose any of them because I don't know where I get replacements for these. And also it'll be running the transistor circuit a little bit over voltage, and I don't know much about this, but I suspect that they're a good deal more critical of voltages than valves. If it was a valve and it was a couple of volts over, who would care? But transistors seem to have this attitude that they're easily offended, and If they get offended, they're likely to self-destruct and take the rest of the radio with them. So I'm being a little bit cautious here. In fact, I don't want to run it for too long like that. I may leave this until I've done the recap and just see what the voltages look like then, but I think I will have to replace that with a Zener. So first I just want to fix up this wire that keeps getting caught in the tuning cap, and I've worked out that that comes from this coil which has been added to this particular version, and I suspect that one turn has come off and then gone through the hole into the other side. So I'll see if I can put that back on the coil and also fix up this winding on the ferrite rod. Other than that, there's not much mechanically to do with this. Everything seems to be in reasonably good order, and I can't put it off any longer. I'm going to have to start on that recap. I decided this little wire that was getting caught in the tuning capacitor is far too fragile to pull back through and put around that coil. So I've stuck it in place with a bit of masking tape, which won't last long, so I'm going to stabilise it with just a bit of liquid electrical tape onto the phenolic there, and that should hold it in place. Oh, that's quite sticky. I think I need a new tube of this. Anyway, I'll put another bit there, and when that's dry I'll take the masking tape off, or just leave it there. I'm also going to use liquid electrical tape to try and stabilise this winding on the ferrite rod here. All these windings are quite loose, and you can see there that the I think it's cotton or whatever insulation on the outside of the wire has come unravelled here, and the wire is fraying outwards. I don't want that to short against the next turn, but I do want to try and keep the turns more or less evenly spaced. Easier said than done. It's very, very touchy. A little bit of masking tape on here to try and hold it in place, and I'll just try and tease that out a little bit so that it's not going to actually short. I'm just going to try and stabilise the thing. I wish I had some fresher liquid electrical tape. This is getting, it's a bit more liquidy now. And then I'll take the tape off when that's dry and put it on the rest of it. I did manage to get the windings on this ferrite rod a bit more even in the end. I think it's going to be fine like that. So I'm just replacing the first of the capacitors. This is a 0.22 cap from the DK96 to ground, and not too bad so far. I did notice this little resistor here was actually broken off the pin of the DK96 here, and it was like that when I found it, so that can't have done it a lot of good. That goes to the grid to ground, so it may have affected the bias. Anyway, we'll get this on. I'll just have to bend him out of the way anyway, so it's almost a good thing it was broken off, otherwise I would have had to take it off. And this capacitor will have to bend down a little bit, but I'll just push it down like that out of the way. Make sure that doesn't short on there. Just lift him up a little bit. That does look as if it was shorting to ground there, this resistor, if that's what it is. I'll pop this resistor here back on where it came from. I'll check it actually. It's 27k, 27.5k. Now that's good enough. Pretty good. While we're measuring stuff, here's the capacitor that I took out of it. It's a 0.22 microfarad, and let's see what we get out of it. Put it on capacitance. .24, 1.25 microfarads, and it's supposed to be 0.22, so that's way over, which suggests that it was not at all well. So I'll just tack this resistor back on. The wires are so close together you have to be very careful not to accidentally have component leads touching. So there's the replacement cap in place, and I note that it goes from pin 1 of the DF96. I've labelled these because I found myself scratching my head saying which one's which all the time. So this goes from pin 1 of the DF96, and that actually goes to ground on the centre piece of that DK96 tube, which is fine, but looking at the schematic I can't find it there. So here's the DF96, and according to the diagram up here, pin 1 is indeed the negative side of the heater, and you can understand that these are directly heated cathodes, so the heater string is in fact the cathode. You don't want noise on it, but looking at the DF96 here, there is nothing off it. Looking down here at the heater string, I thought maybe there's this one here, 22 nanofarads, but it's the other side of this 4.7 meg resistor, so it's not that one. I do notice here though there's a 0.22 mic cap off the positive side of the heater string on the DK96. I don't know. It would be really nice to be able to follow what I'm doing through the schematic, and mark off the caps as I replace them, but this one apparently doesn't exist. Or so I thought. But looking at the series heater string here, they don't go in order, of course, this points to my inexperience in dealing with series heater strings. But here's a DF96 and goes straight to the DK96, that's the next one in line. So the negative side of the DK96 is exactly the same as the positive side of the DF96. So this will be the capacitor here that I just replaced. I feel better. And that unfortunately leads me to these two. And I'm not sure how I'm going to get to them. I think I'm going to have to undo the side of the chassis here and see if I can pull it down enough to find out where the other end of these capacitors go to. I hate doing this. Once you start pulling things apart like this in a radio this size, the potential for stuffing something up just increases exponentially. And I'm mindful of my initial experience pulling the chassis out of the case, where the speaker wires were not long enough to allow the chassis to be withdrawn from the case, and so I broke them. And I suspect this bit here is no different. But oh, something fell off there. What fell off? Oh dear, what have I done? Ah yeah, this holds the dial lamp. That's all right. That will now just be hanging free here. Where does that go? It goes there. Yeah, okay. Don't lose that. Now I'll see if we can just prise the chassis up a little bit. What wires have we got on there? I can't see any wires hanging, but I can't prise this out very far either. Maybe far enough to see where those caps go. Yep, I could. If I can loosen this off a little bit, I could get to that. Unfortunately, that's easier said than done. I think I'll have to undo the other side of the chassis as well. I think this is held in by two screws up through here, so I'll have to take this power supply unit off. Now these two caps are in the way. I guess I can desolder them from here. Here we go. I don't know if that has a nut on the other side. It doesn't seem to. And I'll just loosen it rather than take it right off to try and hold the whole thing together, because I don't want loose wires everywhere. Ah, this piece here obviously comes loose. So now can I move this aside? Not really. I might have to take that out. And this piece here, which holds the catch, I think, which holds the back shut, that will have to go back in. So that goes in this way. Now, I still can't open that up much because there's wires holding things together, I think. Let's just turn it around a bit. If I get these tabs over there, I can now get to these caps here at least close enough to possibly get a pigtail in there. So cutting the wire to this one fairly close up to the top, I think. I'll just cut him there. That will give me a chance to get a pigtail onto it and pull him aside. And that is a 1000 picofarad at 125 volts. And the other one I can just see in there, and I think I can get a pigtail onto him as well, so I'll just snip him there. Take him out. Oops. Nothing broken, I don't think. Let's take him out and see what it is. And this one is a 0.47 mic, and this second 0.47 mic one is on pin 4 of the DAF96, and pin 4 of the DAF96 is the grid, the control grid. So here we are, here is the grid, that'll be him there. And this one, the 1000 picofarad, goes from pin 5 of the DAF96 back to the DF97, and I can't see what pin number it is. So pin 7 of the DAF96 is the plate, and it goes along here to the grid of the DF97. So that's going to be it there. It's marked 1 nanofarad, which is same. So I'll also mark that one there. It's changed. I haven't changed it yet, but I'll mark it anyway. Just looking at this cap again, and I realised it's 0.047. There would have been a decimal point in where this writing's rubbed off here, and I just double checked the schematic, and it says 47 nanofarads, so that nails it. It's a 0.047. Okay, so if I can get this wedge in here, that will give me, I think, enough room to get a soldering iron in there. You have to be careful not to put too much heat on this because it's very close to the cap. I've shortened the wire quite a lot. Let's see if that's, yeah, that's solid. And that's, yeah, I think that's going to be okay. Just make sure that's not touching anything that it shouldn't be, but that seems to be okay like it is. Possibly move that a little bit and push it down. We'll see how that goes. I think that will close up all right now. Just try the take the wedge out. Yep, that'll fit in there okay. I want all the length I can get. I want that piece. Actually, I probably can use that. The main thing is that it doesn't short against any of these other pins, and I think we can achieve that without any dramas. Cut that off there, and I'm just going to solder it directly onto the pin rather than try and do a coil. Now, should I take that valve out of its socket while I'm soldering its pins? I don't know, but I probably should. I'll take it out. There we go, it's out. Now this red wire is still firmly attached. Yep. There we go, that should be alright. Now this little bugger, let's see what I can do with him. So there's the end of the lead. I'll put some of the insulation back and just leave enough left for a pigtail. Say about that. Okay, there's enough there for a pigtail. Then I'll get some fat heat shrink, put it over the top of that bit, and then hopefully when I've soldered it I can slide it forward. Okay, so it's about that far from the end. So if I put a pigtail on him here, perhaps cut that there. Push it well in. That should be about right. And I'll get a bit of heat shrink over the first part of that too. Now if I get my wedge in like this, it will hold it in the right position. Just drop this bit of heat shrink over the top of the lead. Okay, here goes nothing. Can get that onto there. And I can get a soldering iron in there, that's good. I think that's okay, and just warm him up a bit more. Let's see if I can lever this heat shrink up and over it. And that's pretty much worked. Just shrink that. So I've got them in now. There they are there, and I don't think they're touching anything. I think we're all good. I'll put the screws back in this side. I'll put the rest of the chassis back together, and we'll just test it, make sure I haven't broken anything. Okay, well I've got it all back together again, and I can't see that there's anything touching. I've got a speaker hooked up to it again. So let's just put it on. I'm going to put it on dim bulb though, because I've been messing with it. Nothing. I'll just turn that on. Nothing happening there. Not hearing anything either. Why am I not hearing anything? Oh, I don't like this. What's going on? We've lost reception. That's full volume. That's on. That's okay. No, definitely nothing happening there. Alright, what's going on? Okay, false alarm. I had one of my meter leads clipped to the speaker instead of the speaker lead. So now, turn it on.
And what each bit of it is actually doing, including...
We hate it. Always read the PDS and TMDs from NRMA Insurance at nrma.com.au.
Weather. 6PR sounds even better on the app. Download it.
Well, that's pretty good reception considering I'm only using the ferrite and we're in the shed. That is really pulling it in. I'm beginning to like this radio. I'm not saying I'm beginning to like working on it, that's another matter, but it does seem to perform well. There are still quite a few caps to change though. I've got these 4 here and that other 0.15, which I guess that's a 0.15 and not a 0.015. I'll have to check. But it's, what is it? Actually 44 degrees in the shed here. 110 Fahrenheit, the old language. And I am cooking, so I might just call this a day. I might come back this evening and do it when things are a little bit cooler. I thought I would just check these 2 capacitors I've taken out. I tried to do it at the time I took them out, but unfortunately my meter wasn't coping with the temperature very well. So it's now evening and I've come down here to have a look at it. So we'll go to nanofarads. This both is supposed to be 1000 picofarads or 1 nanofarad. And it's 1.4, 1.5, so it is well and truly over 1.6. Stabilizing at 1.64 nanofarads as for 1 nanofarad. So it was over, not as bad as the first one I took out, but nevertheless I'm glad I changed it. This second one is a 0.047 UF, which should be 47 nanofarads. And we've got 280, 290 nanofarads for 47, so it's over by a huge factor. So yep, I think I'm going to have to change each and every one of these little caps. They're almost as bad as Hunt's, I think. Maybe they were better when they were new, I don't know, but they're certainly not standing the test of time. Alright, I'll come back to this tomorrow. I just wanted to measure those capacitors while my meter was working. I dare say it will give up the ghost again when it gets too hot. Well, that's got most of the capacitors changed, all these ones anyway. I don't know what they're called, except one 0.015 UF, which I haven't got a replacement for at the moment. Unfortunately my meter has died, so I'm not able to check any of them. In the meantime, just looking at the electrolytics, there's a couple I've got replacements for. There's a 10 UF here on the power supply, and I suspect in here there's another one. I've desoldered the end of that and it's in this plastic tubing here. Unfortunately the wire fell off when I was desoldering it, and I'm just trying to get it out of its plastic tubing to see what... it doesn't want to come off though. I'll hold it with this one, with these ones, big and chunky as they are. No, it's not going to budge. I don't want to break things. I'll try warming it up a bit, see if that helps. Otherwise I'm going to have to cut that plastic tubing off and probably replace it with heat shrink or something. I don't want to overdo it. Let's see if that helps. No, no. I'm going to have to cut it off. I suspect it's a 10 mic electrolytic if I've correctly identified it. It does go down to pin 1 of the output tube, not the output tube, the driver tube for the output transistors. I'll see if I can get a knife in there. Okay, what have we got? 100 microfarads, 100 UF it says there, 12 to 15 volts. That might be, I don't know what it is, I'll have to find it on the schematic. It's not the one I thought it was, obviously. I'll see what they got down the electronics shop for this, see if I can buy a replacement for it, and one for this. The replacement is going to have to be fairly small for this, because the speaker sits right in there, and so I can't have anything bulky sitting there. As for these, there's a 600 microfarad here on the output of the power supply, and there's these two which are also 600. They form the main pi filter, and I can't buy them anywhere. I've ordered online some 680 microfarad, which was the closest I could get, and well, these are working all right, so I'll leave them in place until the replacements arrive in the mail, and then I'll just swap them over. Okay, so I've now got a replacement for this 100 UF electrolytic, which was in here. Here it is. So I've cut off the lead to the old one there, and I'm just going to do a J-hook in here just to save room, and I've slipped some heat shrink over there so I can cover it up when I'm done. Hopefully this will work. I might have made it a little bit too tight. Come on, in you go. Hook up, you know you want to. There we go. Now I'll just close him up there, and that one from that direction, and that should stay put while I solder it. Yep. Okay, now here's to not dropping solder down the guts. Let's try and get in from this side if I can. There we go. Now, is that clear of everything? Let's see. Yeah, it looks not too bad. Now, I'll see if I can push this. Gee, that has got a bit of a blob of solder on it, but now I can push the heat shrink up over it. Shrink that. And he can sit down there, and then I'll just run the earth to here, where it originally was. Probably just best to keep it to the original contact points. There we go. Okay, that'll do it. Just make it sure it's tinned, and there we go. A little bit more. Yep, that'll be fine. No shorts happening there anyway, that's alright. So now I've got a replacement for this 0.015 cap. I've got a 0.015. So I've got this end of it off here. It came from this tag here, the first one, which is grounded, and the other end of it is a little bit tricky. I'll try from the other side maybe. And there it is there. Yeah, I think I can get cutters down there. Maybe. Yep. Don't want to cut anything apart from the lead. Got him. There we are. Definitely 0.015. It was difficult to see in there. He can go in with the others, and when I've got a meter that's working, I'll measure them and just see how far out they were. That'll be good for a giggle. Now, to get a lead on this, get it up above there, I'll probably need some heat shrink on it and a little pigtail. That should do the job, I think. So it's got a pigtail on him. One of the good things about pigtails is that you don't have to get in there and put a J-hook on the other wire. You can just slip this over. Okay, now the next fun bit is going to be to get a soldering iron down there. Ah, it fell off. And now there's a blob of solder on the lead. I wonder if I can heat it up enough to do that without burning myself. There we go. Let's see if I can pick it up from the other side of the chassis. Yep, there it is. Bit of solder landed there. It's the trouble with this thing, it's so messy. Bits of solder go everywhere. But that's got a hole through. I'm not very good at this small stuff, I'm sure. Radio Cruncher would have this done in 5 seconds flat. Okay, so down you go, through the hole and up. Come on, you know you want to. Okay. Yeah, I think that should be alright. Alright, let's plug it in and see if it goes bang again. I've been checking it after everything, so hopefully it will be alright this time. Okay, dim bulb just in case. Turn it on. Is that up? That's down. That's on.
It does kind of make sense that they've made room for that and probably don't want to know.
Yeah, that's working. Okay, the next one is the little electrolytic on the back of this, and that's about all I can do until I've got replacements for these 600s. Now here's my replacement for this. It's 10 microfarads at 63 volts. This one here is rated at, where is it, 70 to 80 volts. 70 I suppose working volts, 80 peak or something. So the one I bought won't do it, so I've just tacked one of Carl's 650 volt 10 UF caps across here for the time being. And it's another trip to the electronics shop to see if I can get one with a higher voltage rating. I'm sure they've got them. I just wasn't thinking when I bought that one. Alright, let's just plug it in again, make sure I haven't done anything nasty to it. Speaker is still hooked up. Yeah, okay. Okay, still working. While I've got it plugged in, I thought I'll just check the voltage across this rectifier here. This is the one that I'm pretty convinced is used as a voltage regulator. 7.86, 7.87. That voltage is supposed to be 6.5. I think what I might have to do is, I've got a couple of Zeners there, I might just try a Zener across that. Okay, so I've got a 6.2 volt Zener here, it's the closest I could get. It's supposed to be 6.5, but it's a case of what's available. I'm going to try tacking this in here. I'll just now have to think about this. We need the cathode to positive because these things work in reverse bias. Now I can't see any way that you would have the thing conducting in forward bias. This goes to ground, and yes, I suppose this provides some protection against inadvertently putting the battery in the wrong way around. So we'll lose that, but I can't see any scenario where you would have current flowing through it in the forward direction from ground. So I think we'll be safe enough. So the stripe is the cathode, that's pointing towards the hot wire, towards the the 6 volt line. I'll just use this as the ground because it's already on ground, and I'll take this wire off here. There we go. I should really use some heat shrink or something, I suppose. Yeah, well, I'll put a bit of shrink on it just to be sure. There we go. Just shrink that on. Don't have any red left. That'll do. Now I'll just bend this up. Of course, I might have to change all of this if this doesn't work. In fact, it may all go bang and I'll have to throw the whole thing in the bin, but hopefully not. Just bend that up. That should be alright. Now I'll just bend that down there somewhere where it's out of the way. Let's pull this wire around here out of the way. Alright, well, let's see what happens. Still got the speaker on there. Battery wires are there and there, so they're not shorting. I'm going to watch all of these things. There we go. And I'll put the meter on there. In fact, I'll put a clippy thing on it. And just, that's a little bit close to the chassis there actually. I might just bend that up out of the way later. Anyway, we'll see what voltage we got here. It's on dim bulb just in case, turning the radio on.
People sequenced it individually actually. We were not the first people to sequence it, that was a biotech company in southern China, but we're the first to release it. The amazing
well, that's perfect, 6.5 volts. I don't know why it's got 0.2 volts more, but I could probably work it out. Well, that seems to be pretty good. I think I'll leave it at that. There is another adjustment I have to do. It says to adjust the output from this power supply can to, I think, I'll just have to look at it, 45 milliamps by turning the adjuster screw in the blind end of this can that I can't reach. But I'll do that in a minute, just make sure we don't have, well, at least we're ballpark with that figure. I've taken the wire off the output of the power supply, that's a 6-volt line, and put my multimeter across it. It's set to 200 milliamps. So we'll just see what we've got going through there. I also noticed the Xena was getting a bit warm. I suppose it's understandable. I don't know how hot they can get. Anyway, plugging it in and turning it on, and we'll see what we get. 27 milliamps. It's not what it said it should be. 28. I'll just turn it up a bit, make sure it's doing what it meant to do. I should have, yep. Okay, so that's a good deal lower than it should be. Should be 45 according to this. I'll just check the schematic again. Okay, it says here 45 milliamps adjust by R14, and here's R14 here. That's inside the can, and there is a screw on the side saying that that's the one you use to adjust the current. I guess I should adjust it. So here we go, taking this thing off yet again. I don't know how many times this has been on and off since I've had this radio. And there in the bottom of the can is the adjustment. Brass screw. And I think it used to have a label saying to use an insulated screwdriver. I think that's a very good idea anyway. But I don't think anything's touching there. I'll fire it up again and just see what we're getting. 27 milliamps at the moment. I'll just turn that down, we don't need to listen to it. I'll just put that in there, turning it slowly, very slowly, because it doesn't want to turn at all. In fact, yeah, that's not turning. I'm going to turn the power off and see if I can loosen it. Alright, it's up tight in that direction. It will turn anti-clockwise, however. This adjustment is at the end of its travel clockwise. I can only turn it anti-clockwise, so I hope that's the right direction. Anyway, I'll turn it on, and yep, we've got 27 milliamps again, and see which way it changes when I adjust it. It's not changing at all. 28.2, 0.3. It is, no, it's not doing anything much. I'm going to wind the screw right out of the case in a minute. I'm a bit concerned about this. Why are we not getting more out of it? Why? It doesn't say under what conditions it has to be adjusted. I presume it's with the set on and receiving a station. I don't really know if it makes any difference. I'll try changing the volume. Nope, makes no difference. I don't know. So here's the adjustment here. There's a, so that's a 550 ohm resistor and a 27k resistor. I'm not sure what the value of what R14 is. I don't think it's actually a variable resistor. I think it's a coil, from looking at the from my memory of looking at the inside of the power supply box. I'll have a look again in a minute. And why would it be that I'm getting too low a voltage here? We're looking for 45 milliamps coming out of here. So perhaps if these two capacitors were leaky, they could be draining some to ground. I don't know. I guess one option is to change them. Other than that, I guess it means that this is drawing less current than it should, but I don't see how that could be. It is what it is. This series resistor, 50 ohm wire wound in series with the filaments, could be high, but it's a wire wound. They don't normally go high. Just looking at this, we do have this 600 microfarad electrolytic from that point to ground. I suppose it could be leaking and draining some current. I haven't replaced that because I don't have a replacement for it. I've got some 680 mic caps on order and they will arrive when they arrive. So rummaging around, I've got this 470 mic cap, 25 volt, and 100 at what's that, 18 volts. So if I put these two together, so 570 is close enough, I guess, for this. I'll change them anyway when I get with the 680s, but that depends on the vagaries of the of Australia Post and eBay, I suppose. Alright, just let me tack this on and we'll see how we go. Okay, so I've tacked them in very roughly there, but we'll see if that makes a difference to the output. Let's just plug it in and see what we get. Same, 27.8. Okay, turning it off. Let's have a look inside this can. Okay, so here's the adjustment here, and that appears to be an inductor, and I don't know if it's screwing a core around in there or something. I think I've just qualified for the Dummkopf of the Year award, awarded by Grundig. It says on this can, adjust 45 milliamps at 6.5 volts with insulated screwdriver only, and in the end of the can is a screw hole, and inside that hole is a screw. And I assumed that that was the screw you were supposed to turn. But under this Grundig sticker here is a hole. And if you look at the power supply, opposite that hole is a trim pot. So what I think I've been turning is the mounting screw for this coil. Looking at the schematic, there is no variable inductor in this power supply can at all. So back to where we were, removing egg from face. That's unplugged. I'll put the can back on this thing because I don't really want to be handling it without the can on. It'll probably upset it a bit. It's obviously a fairly sensitive little piece of kit. So I'll just peel this sticker off if I can. It doesn't want to peel off without tearing. I didn't want to do that. Alright, I guess I have to. Obviously tamper evident. They didn't want people messing with it that didn't know what they were doing. Such as me. Oh, that poor Grundig sticker. I'm sorry. I'm a real klutz, aren't I? Okay, so let's just poke my pokey thing in there. See if that will adjust it. 29, 30. Oh, that's working. 32 milliamps. And you can't see the meter, can you? No. Okay, so we have 32 milliamps. Turning it up. 33, 37, 30, 46, 45, 40, it's pretty sensitive, 45.8, 45.0. Okay, so I've tacked the wire back on. We'll see if we've got reception. So We're not getting great reception though. Why is that? This is 6PR, that's a really strong station and it's only barely pulling it in. Ah, just the aerial. Okay.
What kind of toll is this taking on farmers? You mentioned the financial struggle. What are people telling you about what that actually means for their day-to-day lives?
Well, that's working absolutely fine. I don't know if it's working any better than it was before. It sounds the same. It seems to perform about the same. I'm probably wasting my time messing with this. What I think I'll do, I think it's good enough now. I'll put it back in its case, and when these capacitors arrive in the mail I can change them. I don't need to take the radio out of its case to do that. They're accessible from the back. Actually, before I do that, there is one other thing I wanted to check, and that is the B plus coming out of here. Now that's still on ground, so I'll put it on. This is the B plusy end of this power supply thing, and put it on there. It should be 60 volts. Turning it on, I've got 64. It was just under, I think it was 57 or 58 before. So it's come up a little bit with this adjustment. That's probably a good thing. Well, I've been doing a little bit of work off camera. Those capacitors I ordered arrived. One here, and there's two in here, 600 UF. This one's at 25 volt, and this one I think is a little bit higher. I can't see the voltage rating where it is. Unfortunately, with these radial caps, you can't orient them to see the label on them all that easily. This one here, 10 UF at 450 volts, and it fits on here a good deal better than the larger one I had on before. So I've got the speaker back in. I put some new wires on it because of the little accident I had with them before. I've taken the tuning knob off. I don't think there's anything else I have to do, but here goes. Like everything with this radio, nothing is ever straightforward. So I don't think I'm going to have it back in all that easily, but never mind. What's happening? That's hanging up on the knob there. And I can almost get the tuning shaft through that hole, but not quite. And I know I had to push it pretty hard to get it out. I don't know if there's another way of doing this. See, that tone control knob is not fitting in there, and that's stopping it from going further. There we go. Okay, so yellow wire. I'm lowering this down. That seems to be in place. So I've got all the screws in, all the buttons seem to work, the knobs are not fouling or anything. So I think it's pretty much okay as far as that goes. Now I've attached a wire to the aerial bracket here because I think it must have had some connection initially. Run that to the aerial here. I've also fitted a new power cord. Something more in keeping with the radio. The last thing I have to do here is to fit this little phenolic shield thing, and I've cut a square in the end of it so it fits in here, and lengthened the hole here so that will now hopefully fit over that. I even managed to get some solder to stick to the aluminium foil. After doing all that, it occurred to me that I would have been better off just getting a piece of printed circuit board material and putting it in there. So it's time to put the back on. And the cord through there. So just putting this little pointer in here, and that seems to work all right. And this dial, I've cleaned it up. I still haven't come up with a good solution for this center cap here. This, I think that's about it. Well, there we go. Well, the case is polished up quite well. I managed to get out most of the little marks and nicks. It's got a few tiny blemishes on it, but overall it looks pretty good. Just looking for something to do with the centre of this dial, and the only thing I could find was this. My wife's glue stick has now lost its end. Don't tell her. She won't find out for a little while. And I also have this gold embossing foil, so I'm going to see what I can do with this. Well, there it is. I gave up on the gold embossing foil and just finished it off with this gold pen, and I've stuck it on with contact adhesive because I think I'll probably be taking it off again. It's maybe better than nothing for now, but it's not great, so I'll keep looking for something better. Well, I'm going to leave this here. It's been quite a long video already. I've been editing as I go, and it's already over an hour, unless I cut it back a little bit. There's quite a lot I haven't shown you. I've been experimenting with batteries, trying to get it to run on them without very much success. I tried 4 AA alkaline cells and it runs fine on them. The only thing is, when you plug the power in, it puts a current back into the battery even when you don't have the charging switch pressed. I didn't think that'd end well, so I tried putting a diode in series with them to stop the backflow. That dropped enough voltage to stop the radio from working, so I added another battery. That worked, it stopped the backflow into the batteries, but then I found that there was still a current drain on the batteries when it was operating from mains, enough to send them flat in pretty short order. So that wasn't going to work. I'm not sure where I'm going to go with it now. I might try rechargeables, nickel metal hydride batteries, something like that, see if I can get that to work into it. But at the moment, it's a great little mains powered radio, and I'm going to use it in the kitchen for a while to soak test it and make sure it's all good, but I'm pretty confident that it will be. So I hope you've enjoyed this this video. I hope you can join me for the next one. I think there might be a next one on this radio. So thanks for watching, and bye for now. Catch you later.